Hey everybody, NovelistCrim here, and let me go ahead and put down a notification that we're live, that we can get started. NPC 2 done. Excellent. So, I just wanted to start things off a little bit different with the stream here. So usually I've been getting into the habit of trying to write these journal entries to start off streams, mostly because it gets my writing mojo moving and grooving, but it also kind of provides a little bit of an insight as to what's going on in my head when I'm living day to day trying to be a writer, and also any wisdom or bit of I don't know, like a nugget of inspiration or knowledge that I could share that I come across, or things that I've been dealing with in terms of challenge. I think I want to start sharing that in terms of making this content a little bit more full. So one of the things that we kind of encountered this afternoon, and just to explain what the journal entry is about for those who are not reading it, that's fine. Essentially what the journal entry mentions is that recently I've had a couple of birds visit my deck, and it's cute. I like seeing them. It's a lot of fun. They usually are curious. They flitter down and take a look at me, but the most important thing that they're there for is the water. I noticed that with the rainfall of the April season, I have a little dish that's sitting out there, and it's collected so much water, and in a way my apartment has become somewhat of a watering hole for these guys. They kind of visit, drink their fill, and kind of move on, and you have these repeat visitors, and you start to recognize the different patterns on their feathers and the different looks. And it's kind of a good feeling to see these people benefiting from you. Now, it's not as good as actively doing it, in terms of actively filling the water dish, which I did this afternoon. I noticed that this morning the dish was dry, and despite it being dry, the birds would show up and they would try to drink from an empty basin. It's just didn't work out. And as I'm watching these guys come and go, I still notice that just even if they discover that it's empty once, right, they're still coming back. The same birds still come back regardless, and they try again and again. And I felt bad, after a point. I decided, what, let me just fill this up, to help these birds along. And I think that small act of kindness, kind of it really felt good, seeing these little creatures being able to have less stress and anxiety, to have a place where they're guaranteed to drink water, and it's just a small effort of responsibility that doesn't really take that much, to just be there for them. And it kind of reminded me of my place here on Twitch, on Twitter, and on YouTube, which I've massively neglected. And it makes me think that there's so many people who come back and forth to visit the stream and whatnot, even though that there's not that much substance in terms of content. And I thought, just the simple act of filling a dish of water has provided has touched so many lives. And it just it makes them happy in the simplest way. And I thought to myself, how wonderful would it be if you can just do that same type of kindness to your fellow man, if you could give back in some way. And I kind of realized that I should do that for my content. Really should. try to give back, and maybe speak some of the thoughts that are in my head, and maybe like discuss a little bit of the challenges that I'm facing, both like in terms of what's going on with life, or whatever writing thing that I'm working on. And maybe it might help you guys find some solutions or have some perspective on certain things that you're dealing with too. Now, one of the things that I think I'm going to be doing, and I don't know, I don't want to make any promises just yet, but I will try it as an experiment, and we'll see how it goes. But I was thinking of taking some of the highlights from this from the streams, or at least taking like a small portion of the stream. Usually the first the first half of the stream, we're gonna probably like discuss like both the journal entry and also the whatever writing thing is on my mind at the time. There's always like a little challenge here and there that you kind of like bump into, and sometimes it could be obvious, and sometimes it could be like really like difficult. Don't know. Yeah, some new stream plans. So I'm thinking I'm probably gonna post some of this stuff on YouTube, at least the highlights of when we're actually talking about something that's more content related, and I think that'll be a good way to kind of give back a little bit while we're doing these streams, and try to maybe gear toward more of like a chill vibe if we can. So yeah, just I don't know, I think that's kind of like the wisdom of the day, really, in terms of like just basically finding a way to give back. And I think like a lot of good things, like I don't know if it was the karma or something, but like I don't know, doing that small act really felt good, and it really like I feel like it kind of kicked the day into like, I don't know, like a positive vibe. Just going outside felt better. I even decided to like work out and move around, and life just felt better. Makes you think, Aside from that, the next thing on my mind recently, we'll talk about story. So I've already come up with a solution for like what I want to do. But as like at the current position that I'm in right now for act, we're like sort of leaving act 1 behind, and we're going into act 2, which is basically the big muddy middle. It's the scary part that most writers have a lot of difficulty with, in terms of trying to figure out what to do, where to go. There are some techniques in order to like try to get through that middle, and I figured I'd discuss it today since I'm in the midst of it, and it's kind of like fresh in my head. So the issue that I've been having, or at least the choice that I've been given, is that this like the theme of the main character's story, and usually like story would have like a main character that has some sort of like flaw or lesson that they're gonna have to learn through as a character, and taking that lesson that they need to learn is a good way to like kind of like help dictate what your content is going to be throughout the middle. It helps guide you a little bit. In my novel, the main character, Kalen, has like a lot of difficulty working together with others. He wants to do things alone, and he feels like he needs to, shoulder the burden of the world, just by himself. He doesn't like the idea of feeling powerless. He doesn't like the idea of, relying on other people. And it's mostly because like with his history, he's out of a lot of people that kind of like let him down, and he kind of just like got to that point where he got this bag in, and he's like, all right, well, I'm just not going to rely on anyone at all. You know, you can't trust anyone is basically the lesson that he got out of that. The story is about trying to break that in him and to guide him away from that like solitary path and put him towards something that would be more of like a found family, and being able to kind of like connect with others and maybe even at some point become a leader. So in knowing that there is a fatal flaw at this point in the chapter that I was working on, where you're going from the first act to the second act, Kalen has a choice that he can make in this scene, and it's a choice that could be dangerous. It could, like, he has a the opportunity to do something or to achieve a goal by himself. But if he does so, it could be a big problem for everyone else. So he can undercut everybody and just say, nope, I'm doing this by myself. Now, the question is, does he do it? Or does he stop himself and try to absorb the message as best he could? Now, this kind of comes back to the concept of Save the Cat, right? Save the Cat is a book written by Jessica Brody. It's a really good one for those who are struggling with storytelling. I recommend it. Essentially, Jessica Brody suggests this concept of Save the Cat, which is essentially a beat sheet that was invented, I believe, by Blake Snyder. So you have a choice. When you start off in Act 1, Act 1 comprises of about like 25% of your novel, right? When you're going into Act 2 is kind of like a two-part area. It's 50% of your book, so it's the largest portion. It's where all the fun, the meat, the drama, all that good stuff is at. So when you're leaving that first act and you're going through the middle, your character, with the flaw that they have, they could either be learning how to deal with it, or coming to learn the lessons and accepting this new world that they're in, and they could be doing really good, right? And that good, it might be rocky up and down, sure, but generally they're doing good, like throughout the first quarter, or the first half of the half, the middle. Then there's like a big twist in the middle that changes the game in some way or another. It could be a love interest. It could be, someone dies or something like that. Just something like, or maybe they achieve their goal, but it's not what they think. Or, something like that. And then things switch and it starts, if you were doing good in the first portion and the twist happens, then usually you're going to do bad afterwards. And that's going to go towards a crisis point, right? However, when you're leaving the first act and you go toward the midpoint twist and you're doing bad, let's say, Kalen decides to not absorb the message at all, and he's like gonna, push the story towards trouble and still trying to resist as much as he can, these issues and whatnot. So he's on the dark path. There's still the midpoint twist, which changes the game in some way, and I think that would be something that would force the main character into try to go towards a better path. So if you're gonna do good in the beginning, you're gonna probably end up bad toward the end, but if you're doing bad in the beginning, you're gonna end up good toward the end, at least in the middle portion, right? This is just like the kind of formula, the setup that they the save the cat, what do you call it, beat sheet sort of like suggests. Again, it's not like something that's written in stone. It's not something that's like, you know, the method and this is the way to do it. But it's an interesting concept that like it works. But it's kind of funny how you can see that, and it does make sense. It's a really interesting way to like kind of make the middle a lot more of like a dynamic place where this is the lessons and the trials that like, you know, make your hero a hero. And it's only up until like, you know, the crisis point, and then like, you know, the end of up until the end of Act 3, where your character kind of decides whether or not they're gonna like, you know, take their old world and the new world, the lessons that they learned, and then turn into a hero, or if they're going to like just basically fail and, you know, not change from their old ways and end in tragedy, which is a fair climax. It's possible, but yeah. Essentially, that's the choice that I was kind of dealing with a little while back yesterday. Just a simple thing, maybe food for thought. I don't know if that helps in terms of like when you're writing your story and you're coming to this idea that like, you know, in the middle, how do I make it interesting? What can I do? It's basically, my advice would be to divide it up into 2 chunks. You know, you have your first half of the middle and the second half of the middle. You know, the first chunk is like either they're doing really good or really bad, and there's the big twist that kind of changes up the flow where it could go either really bad or really good, depending. And that'll give you like having that middle point twist is something exciting that you can like look forward to, rather than like having a whole painful like slog all the way to like, you know, the climax, you know, because like a lot of you know, starting writers would love to like put a, you know, the cool epic battle at the end, but then have like no content in the middle, which makes it like, you know, and they have a really good start, like, you know, starting the first act is always awesome, and then they just don't know what to do in the middle, and it's such a slog. Oh, I gotta train and do all these things and I don't know. And it's, you know, usually because there needs to be like a middle point twist to look forward to, and there's also got to be a point toward the story, like, you know, what is it actually about, like what is the character trying to accomplish or like learn, or what does the character have to learn throughout the story, like how do they change, what do they do. So yeah, I figured I'd share that bit of story with you, and hopefully that's something that you like. And if you guys are curious, I'm going to be taking this discussion and making like highlights for it, and then putting it up on YouTube. So it's going to be pretty raw in terms of like, you know, there's not going to be any fancy editing. It's going to be very basic. I'd like to keep this as like, you know, simple as possible, but also just kind of like have a way to like kind of give back in a little bit, you know what I mean? In a sense that whenever I do come up with something that could potentially help somebody, I want to try to like make like an archive or something like that we can like have like this information that we can talk about and discuss, and you know, it might be useful, maybe. All right, so see, I have one brother who is also into writing like I am. We have nerdy conversations. I asked him once, how do you know which direction to take the story when you can see multiple options? His response was short and poignant. Actually short but poignant. I go with the direction which tells the better story, or that excites you the most. Yeah, I agree. Having the ability to follow the fun is awesome. And I think that like one of the biggest things that I learned as a writer is the concept of like, you hear the phrase "kill your darlings," and for the longest time I always thought that meant like, you know, oh, you gotta like, you know, kill your characters and, you know, get used to like killing them off, you know, but that's not what it really meant. what it actually meant was there's going to be a lot of scenes and a lot of, like, you know, sentences and a lot of things that you may love about a story, but it simply does not serve the story at all. Like, you can like this chunk, but if it's not helping you or pointing toward the end, or, like, you know, if it's stopping the story just to write that thing, or that just include that little detail, then get rid of it, you know? Or find another way. Like, how can I write this scene without using that bit? That's one of the things that's been, like, the biggest lessons that I've learned, like, kind of coming up as a writer, for sure. Yeah, because there's definitely going to be some things that bug you. Writing should kind of, like, flow. It should be fun, and you should use your emotions that you have inside you as a gauge of, like, am I having fun? Am I bored? Like, does this feel like it's dragging, or is it going fast? You know, is it a little too fast? Do I need to slow down? Those little emotions that you're having are like little gauges that are telling you, you know, how the story's doing. You really shouldn't ignore them. Like, there's some times where you're, like, writing a scene and you could feel bad about it. Like, you know, not to say that, like, this is true for all situations, but, you know, I find that, like, if I'm stuck and it, you know, I'm writing something and it's just not, you know, it feels boring or heavy or it's not moving, it's not a challenge to sit there and try to shoehorn it into the story. It's not a challenge to try to fix it and then make it better. Sometimes it's a request to either cut it out or find another way around, or just, you know, what else can you do, right? If it could be, like, you know, if you could still tell the story and not have it there, then that's fine. Because it's like, you gotta, like, approach it with the mentality of, like, a storyteller. You have to be more interested in completing the story, like seeing the story, like, you know, what is the best thing I can do from start to finish, and then, like, tell a good story, versus the concept of, like, I just want this one particular scene to do as well as possible and nothing else, you know? It's how every piece functions towards the whole, rather than just that one piece being absolutely gorgeous in a pile of mud. I'm hoping that this is reaching some people. But yeah, I definitely, yeah, no, I feel you there, Crow. I've had to remove a lot of scenes that I've loved. Again, for those of you who are interested in reading the text that I write here for the journal entry portion of this stream, you can catch it on the Discord by hitting !Discord on the chat, and it'll be right there under the journal entry or the journals tab. I've been, like, buying almost all of them, kind of like keeping up with them. Hey, how's it going? Thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you, Brenna. Appreciate it. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I love it. There's, like, so many little buddies. How's it going? How is the evening going for you? Hey. Little bunny bombers, that's so cute. It's awesome that you get it to, like, stack like that. Wow. That's neat. That's, like, so well done. I swear, that, like, makes reading, like, so much fun. Just being able to see those little, like, combos. Alright, back to your question there, Justin. Does plot come from the character? how do I figure out what my character wants? Interesting. I mean, you've checked out like the Brandon Sanderson stories, or you know, his lectures, and his philosophy on that is like, you know, plot comes from the rubbing together of like you know, your plot, your setting, or your character, I believe, if I remember. So if you have like those like two different you know, when you have like the conflict that is involved between those two things, that's where you can like find story, you know? Trying to figure out like how to answer that in a more clear way. But I guess you could also say that, yeah, it could come from the character as well, you know? Like, you know, again, this is an example I used a long while ago. I don't know I can't remember what the name of the movie is, but, you know, essentially there's this one character that his only goal in the whole movie is to try to tag this other person before they get married. And that's definitely a plot that comes from the character, because that's his want. And because that goal is important to that character, the story kind of like, you know, it becomes important to the viewer. It's not a great, you know, plot, but like, you know, a lot of things can, you know, it doesn't really matter how complex it is. It can be super simple, and people will just kind of like, you know, be invested if the character's invested, you know? Kind of like that guy from Zombieland who was looking for the Twinkies. Simple plot. He just wants Twinkies. That's his character goal. And, you know, you get this really interesting adventure of him looking actively for Twinkies, you know? So I'd say, yeah, you know, plot can definitely come from a character. But thank you, Melody, for the help. Appreciate it. Kill the bad guy at all costs. Yeah, I mean, it's got to be like, I feel like you're right. It should have a little bit more depth, and I feel like in those situations, it should be personal to you, you know, the character in some way. They should be invested for one reason or another. Or, like, you know, I like characters that have their own, like, goal and, you know, something that they're actively seeking. I think that's always, like, more fresh and fun to, like, watch somebody proactively do something. But sometimes a problem comes to the character, and it's, you know, something that can't be ignored. Say, for example, Hunger Games is a good example. So you have like the whole reaping thing going on, where, you know, people are being selected and whatnot, and you know, Katniss Everdeen is like, you know, her character is to protect her family, right? And she will do that at all costs. She will provide and protect for her family. Now she could just like run away from all this like problems, and she can just like, you know, she doesn't have any real goal to destroy, you know, the government and situation that like is doing all this stuff. She doesn't really care. She's more interested in hunting and trying to make her way through life. But when the sister gets called for the reaping, now it's her problem. Now it's personal, and now it's unavoidable, because like when she volunteers as tribute, story begins, right? So that's an example of something like a problem coming to you. But definitely, like, if it were any other character, like, you know, it's specific to Katniss's character that she cares for her sister a lot, and you do see that. Like, you know, it is definitely hinted on throughout the early parts of the story. So, like, if it were any, like, Joe Schmo, who just basically says, I volunteer as tribute, that scene wouldn't have as much impact because you don't know the, you know, there was no emotional attachment. So having the character there to, like, to have that power, you know, behind it, you know what I mean? Like, her character wants to do this, and she's highly motivated to do it. And it feels more believable and realistic, too. And it just, you know, it feels like there's more on the line, like she's got more to lose and more at stake. So, I think that's like a, you know, one thing to think about. Yeah, I believe she's named after Primrose. All of them are named after flowers, if I remember correctly. Kind of cute. It's a good theme. I love the intro to, what do you call it? The Hunger Games. I think it's an incredibly gripping tale, and it's one of the finest examples of like storytelling. There's like so much you can do to analyze and like pick it apart and try to understand how to be a better writer just by reading that book, or, you know, looking up at studies. Save the Cat in particular goes into detail about like you know, how to break down that story into the beats that, you know, make it function. And it's pretty cool. I recommend, like, you know, if you want to like take some time to like study that, you can look up Hunger Games Save the Cat beat sheet on Google, and you'll see that there's like information that kind of breaks down the process of storytelling, so you can, like, you know, kind of like you know, pick it apart and get it. Hopefully it's a good way to like kind of like open up the hood of the engine, or the hood of the car, and kind of like peek at the engine and trying to understand, like, how does this work? Why is it successful? I don't know. Analyze. Yeah. Where does my plot drive from? You said Kaylin Kaylin doesn't want to be a bounty hunter. What Kaylin wants to do is, like, he wants to be free of the situation of being in the city that's, like, you know, just full of hardship. He wants to be able to provide for his sister, and he wants to, you know, get to a point where I think there's a phrase. I actually wrote it down in, like, let me go find that scene. Hang on. Where is that scene? It says, but in truth, he didn't want to be a part of anything. What he wanted was to live his own life, to be freed by the results of his choices. So basically, essentially what that means is he wants to, like, find freedom in life, and he wants to be the one to, like, kind of captain the ship. He definitely wants to be the one to, like, you know, be able to, like, dictate, this is, you know, my decision, and, you know, no one can tell me otherwise, or, like, you know, I don't have to work against, like, a system or life, you know, to push me down. I just want to be freed by the results of my own choices. I want my decision and my choices to set me free. I want to, like, you know, actively work towards my own goals and, like, you know, not get any handouts. I want to actively free myself with my choice. So, you know, that's what he, like, wants to do. And I guess his problem is that he believes that he has to do this on his own, and he doesn't want to accept help, you know, from anyone or, you know, other people. He's trying to, you know, shoulder the burden of, you know, trying to be a guardian, I guess, for his sister, and also trying to, like, you know, do all this backbreaking work and, you know, anything that he can to try to, like, you know, free himself and just, you know, take initiative. But life has given him a lot of issues and problems that made such events, like, very difficult for him. and he finds that in order to live and survive the circumstances that he's got himself into, he's going to have to like sign on to basically the lesser of a lot of evils. And have to forego that you know, that sense of what do you call it, that lone wolf journey, and just become a part of a found family, become a part of a group. And it's difficult for him to do that, especially since like he's, you know, kind of been drilled almost to like not trust anyone. He doesn't want to. All right, guys, it is 10 o'clock, and I picked out a person that we're going to be raiding today. So, let me go ahead and get us going there. But before we do that, I wanted to, you know, say thank you guys for coming out. Really appreciate the love and support. It's really fun doing this type of stuff. I get excited when we, you know, are able to like kind of communicate with each other and I guess solve problems and think about like the discussion of writing, mostly because it's a topic that I really love. And also the I feel like we were able to touch on like some really fun stuff, like, you know, I guess life learning lessons and all this other cool things. I'm gonna be taking the time later on to make a highlight video of the stuff that we talked about, and we can probably download it and put it up on YouTube. See how that goes. Start a little archive, and maybe this is a new thing that we can keep rolling. I definitely like the nature of tonight's content. I felt like it was a lot of fun, like a lot more engaging, and I felt like you know, I also was able to accomplish quite a bit. So we're gonna be doing a raid, guys. For those of you who are new here, again, my name is NovelistCrim. We usually do this stream on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 8 p.m. Eastern to 10 p.m. Eastern. If you are new here and you haven't done so, I recommend you leave a follow. It's a great way to get notified when we do this type of stuff. You can also check out our Discord by hitting !Discord in the chat, and that's kind of like a great way to get like updates on the journals that I do whenever we start stream. You can also rub shoulders with other creatives that are hanging around the chat, and yeah, it's also a great way to get in touch with me if you want to like chat and hang out. Aside from that, guys, yeah, let's get going here. Let me get this raid going. Give them a lot of big brains if you can. Give some love, say hi, and hopefully we'll have some fun. So anyways, thanks again for watching, guys. Take it easy, and as always, stay passionate.